So I've been down to Wex. We have been shopping. I've got a new lens here. This is the Sony 10 to 20mm APS-C power zoom lens. So today we're going to get this out, have a quick look at it. I'm going to quickly go over some of the specs of this, not a proper review, just quickly go over some of the specs. Compare it to a couple of the lenses I already have, because I've got an obsession with wide angle lenses. And then we are going to take it out for a quick blog, quick picture test, and see what the first impressions of this are actually like. Okay, and let's get this out of the box. So I nipped down to Wex a while back earlier in the week. I've been waiting for one of these to come in used for a while. I've been checking the website literally every day. So I didn't get this brand new, so it was used, so it's not quite in the original packaging. We don't care about instruction manuals and crap like that. So you've got the standard really, you've got your lens hood, which will fit to it in a minute, and then a pre-ripped bubble wrap, because you don't get the joy of the brand new lens opening when you buy it second hand, obviously. So here we are then. It's a very dinky little lens. I really like this. It's mega lightweight. I think it's like 179 grams. But the key difference about this to my other lenses is that it's got a little zoom rocker on it, because this is a power zoom. So it'll go from 20mm to 10mm, or the other way round, I should probably say, without having to mess around with actually touching the zoom ring. So if you've got a camera with a zoom rocker on it, you can do it all remotely with your finger. Other than that, it's got a customizable button here and the autofocus manual focus switch. There's nothing real fancy about this. You don't have like a clicky aperture ring or anything. You've just got your zoom ring and your focus ring here. So I'm just going to put the little lens hood on there. I always tend to put the hoods on my lenses if they're not going to have a big ND filter on them, just because I'm real clumsy and I'm liable to bash these on things. That just gives them a little bit of protection whilst I'm out using them. So a quick little bit of backstory here. Sony, about a year or so ago, they released 3 new wide-angle APS-C lenses, and because I'm an idiot and I've got a bit of a problem with wide-angle lenses, I kind of now have all of them now that I've got this power zoom. So before I'd even bought this camera, I'd already looked into lenses and what ones I wanted to get with it, because again, this is the first interchangeable lens camera I ever had, and I knew I wanted to pick up this lens. This is the 11mm Sony wide-angle lens that they released, and this is a really nice lens. It's very lightweight, it's not that expensive, it's easily the most affordable of these 3. It's like almost the go-to vlogging lens if you're on Sony APS-C. You've got a little customizable button and the autofocus manual focus switch there, but apart from that, there's nothing really on the lens at all. And it's really nice, really good quality lens, and I love using this. And I thought that I'd be able to bung this lens on the camera on my desk, and this would just be my go-to lens. That's an f1.8, so it's brilliant in low light like in here, and I thought that would be brilliant. But we're going to swap out to this now and show you why I changed my mind on that. So can you see the problem here? Now this is a brilliant wide shot. You've got like so much of the desk available to you. If I got a big piece of equipment I want to demo out on there and show you all about it, this is brilliant. But you may notice it's a bit goofy, you know, things get a little distorted. It's a bit madness really. It's too wide for this sort of distance, and you can bring it in closer to you, but it's always going to be, you know, quite goofy. So I decided that I didn't want to just have this lens for my stroke number 1 of the day, for my go-to indoor desk setup. So I did some research again, and I was looking at this lens here. This is the Sony 15mm f1.4, the second of the trio of wide-angle lenses. This is a bit more fancy. It's got the customizable button and the AF like the other ones, but it's also got a clicky or non-clicky aperture ring on it. But the key is that it's f1.4, so it's really good when you're out at night taking pictures of buildings and lights. If you want to do like some astrophotography, which I'd like to do at some point in the future, I've done a couple of little tests but nothing important, then this is a brilliant little lens for that. And if I swap out to it now, you'll also see why I thought this might be the answer to the desk lens option for inside here. So that's when I really started looking at the 10 to 20 power zoom, because this hits a number of things. I mean, it's slightly wider than the 11mm, so if you want to do something goofy in real wide you can, but it can zoom up to just past what the Sigma does at its shortest range. So you've got flexibility built into it, and also because it's a power zoom, I figured I can control it with my little Bluetooth controller here, which I got for free when I got my ZV-1 years ago now. So I'd be able to do stuff like this, but then zoom it in and zoom it out and just make it a bit more interesting without having to get up, disconnect myself from the microphone, which I've just realised is still attached to my chest. We're a professional outfit here. I did warn you that you're in for amateurism. So anyway, I'd be able to change the zoom distance without having to get up, walk all the way around the table, mess about with it, judge roughly where I think it is, and then come back down, and that'd make a much smoother workflow. And also, because it's an f4 anyway, which that didn't matter to me, because some people, or most people on YouTube, seem to think that f4 would be too much of an aperture, or too little of an aperture I should say, because it hasn't got as much depth of field. But when I'm doing stuff like showing little medical kits and stuff like that, an f4, if I'm stood here and it's focused on my face and I hold something up here, that's still going to be in focus as well, because it's got that different depth of field, which although a lot of people don't want, I actually do want. So here we are then, we're on the 10 to 20 at 10mm without active stabilization, so this is actually at the full zoom range, or the full wide range I should say. And look at this shot. I mean, I've got my monitor over here so I can actually see what's going on, but this is mega wide, so I can do all sorts of goofy stuff with this. But it is goofy, that's the thing. I mean, look at my arms. I mean, look at that perspective. That's just ridiculous. It's fun, but ridiculous. Now, got my little remote here so we can test it out, but according to the camera, we're cranked up to ISO 100 and number 3, 1250, so we're probably going to be starting to introduce noise here. Probably be able to counter that with DaVinci Resolve, but we'll find out. But the key is, I've got it here, but I don't have to keep it here. We can punch into, let's go to 18, so this is where we'd be on the Sigma, and now, you see, most of that goof is gone. And let's do a little focus test before I get myself a lens and hang that up. Yeah, she's alright. Yeah, she's happy. So we've got a lot more flexibility here, and you can punch it in a bit more to 20 if you want to do stuff like this, and then most of the goof should have really gone by now. So this is flexible, and that's exactly what I wanted. I got it on the camera, I don't have to touch the camera, and I can do all of this different range of motion remotely on here. So I could say something like this and then end the shot, change it out, do something else, move it back in, do something else, and make things a bit more interesting without having to constantly get up, walk around, mess around with the camera, then come round, sit down and continue again. We're just going to have to see how that ISO noise works out though, because I'm a bit concerned about that. So let's go out, do a vlog test a couple of other things on the setup as well, like the lav mic, just plug straight into it and all that sort of jip, and see what happens. So here we are then guys, for what is going to be a pretty brutal vlogging test, because this is insanely bright outside. So I thought this would probably be a good idea to try and test it out in this bright light without any filters or anything on, see how it does. And as you can see, I can barely see, I'm squinting like a bastard. So I've got an aperture priority, we're at f22 and it's flashing, so this is probably still all blown out, but that's kind of to be expected in this sort of light. But how's the stab? So basically what I'm doing here, we've just got it set to 10mm with active stab on. We've got the lens hood on but no filter, which is why it's at f5000, and we're just holding it left-handed, test out the stabilisation in the camera because I haven't really done any vlogging with this yet, and see how badly blown out it is in this extreme light. So how we look. One of the downsides of this lens for me personally anyway is that it's got a 62mm filter, a 62mm filter thread, or filter thread I should say if I start having a stroke. And I don't have any 62mm ND filters. I've got 67mm one. So what I'm going to have to do is get myself a step-up ring, and I'm probably going to need a step-up ring anyway. Otherwise I reckon this lens would vignette hard if I put anything else on it. So we'll get one of them, and then we can hopefully drop this down. We're at f22 still apparently, and get something that doesn't look quite so blown out. Whilst we're doing this vlogging test, let's try a couple of different grips and see if it affects the stabilisation. So we're left-handed at the minute, my arm's fairly extended, that's maximum extension, because this is stupid wide. You can pull it all the way back in here if you want to see some extra chin action. But that's at arm's length for me basically. Oh, excuse me. Let's swap it over to holding the middle in the old claw grip. So now we're holding it centrally with my right hand, so I'm basically got my thumb and little finger wrapped around the lens, and my 3 back fingers, or middle fingers I should say, Jesus Christ, this is going brilliantly, round in the back of the camera where the screen would be, and the screen's flipped out to the side. So I think this is probably a little bit more stable, but obviously I can't tell shit from just looking at a screen when I'm so squinted that I can't even see straight and you can barely see the screen. Anyway, so this is the real reason to buy this lens, I think, for me, is if I'm out doing a military show, I'll whop the camera out. Hopefully this wind noise isn't too bad, that'll test this muff out well. Anyway, yeah, you want to whop out your camera quickly. We've just got this one lens, you're mega wide, even with 10% crop of the active stave, you've still got plenty of angle. And you should be able to see me, everything that's going on around me. And then if I want to, if something's happening, you can just spin the camera around, like so, and then you can get a nice pan shot of whatever's going on. And you see there, that's a seriously wide angle. It's actually looking quite good in the screen. I think it's going to work perfectly. So the idea is you'll be wandering around doing your vlog, or walking around like this, showing people what's around, and in my case, not a lot, because I'm out in the middle of the countryside today, on this nice day. And if you saw something interesting, let's use a bush for example here, and you want to show it, you can then give it a zoom in, and if that's some equipment on a table, guns, etc., you then punched in, so you've got a better view at that, and then when you're finished with that, you can zoom back out and wander off and you're back on your way. And I think that's really what this is going to do for me, what the other lenses I got just can't. I mean, like the 11mm prime, you're basically stuck at what you're seeing now. I mean, if I punch this into 11, there you go. So this is what you should see on the 11mm prime basically. But then if you see something, you're at a display and they've got something a little way back there, you're stuck at this angle, you can't see anything. Whereas on this one, I can punch it in, and then you'll be able to just spin the camera around and continue talking to the camera like this if you want to. And really, I don't think any of the other lenses I got can do that. That's just not really an option. The only other competitor to this that I've thought would be the Sigma 10 to 18, but that can't punch in quite as far and it doesn't have the power zoom. And although the power zoom isn't like a game ending, it's very handy, because in the future I'm probably going to end up getting like an FX3, not an FX3, sorry, I ain't got that sort of money, an FX30 or a ZVE 10 Mark II when it comes out, depending on how badly they nerf it. Hopefully that'll be a brilliant little camera. And they've got zoom rockers on them, and that will obviously work out brilliant with the power zoom. So that's the theory anyway. I mean, it would be nice to be an f2.8 like the Sigma, but at the end of the day I paid way less for this than what a Sigma costs, so can't really complain. So here might be a good way to demonstrate what I mean. So you're walking around an event, you'd come to something, imagine this is the barrier to keep the public out and they've got the display. You'd be able to punch it in like that and have a much better view of what's going on. And then do that. And hopefully not fall over in this bog. Jesus Christ, look at the state of this place. Try and get over here without falling over and smashing it to pieces. Sorted. And then one of the other things that I'll probably be doing a lot of with this camera, if you see here we've got this lovely day out in the country, this big old wide shot. Let's see what sort of photos we get. So I took a few snaps, let's load them up on the screen now and see what they look like. One thing I am noticing with this is whilst I'm holding it crab clawed on the lens here, is that I keep accidentally hitting the zoom rocker, which obviously isn't what you want. So that's going to have to factor into how I actually use this. It's a downside I didn't consider, but it's because I've got a fat thumb, so I'll have to just work on my hand placement. I just realised that this whole time I've had the white balance set to 3500, which is what I use in the studio. So all this footage is going to look stupid, and I will definitely have to correct that in post. Told you you're coming here for amateurism, and amateurism is certainly what you're going to get. There's something else I think is worth mentioning when it comes to like the vlogging and stuff. I think people overcomplicate it. I certainly overcomplicated it when I started. That's something I'm going to have to do a video on, definitely. But like, you got the wireless microphones and everything. I've got a wireless microphone, they're brilliant. But you're messing around, you're giving yourself too much to think of. Literally got the camera, a lav mic plugged into it. The only difference between using this and a wireless microphone is that you've got a tiny little cable going to you, which no one's going to notice because no one's paying any attention to you. So don't make it overcomplicated, guys. Just get your camera, get your lens, all the equipment on it you want. Just stuff yourself a good lav mic in it. It's going to sound better than a bloody shotgun mic anyway. I mean, I'm standing next to a stream now and I bet it sounds fine. So see how well the microphone deals with background noise anyway, I suppose. Yep, getting a little bit of flaring in the lens there. Not too bad though. So I'm going to take a wander, going to find me some woods to go into, see what sort of pictures we can get inside a wood. I think that'd be quite cool inside woodland, just getting nice wide shots of the trees and stuff like that. Maybe catch some deer if you're lucky. They are about here, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of them, splattered all over your car windscreen every bloody night. Just whilst I remember quickly, going back to the Sigma comparison, the 10 to 18, another reason I prefer this lens over that one is the size. I mean, the Sigma's heavier for a start, but it's also physically bigger. But the big thing that really knocked me about is when I was trying to figure out which of the two I preferred, was that the Sigma's like a reverse zoom. So if you want at 10mm, which is what you're going to have this at nearly all the time, let's be honest, that's what you've bought it for. The Sigma is zoomed, like the barrel is out at 10mm and then it comes in as you go out to 18mm, which to me is crap because it means the lens is going to be even bigger, because it doesn't matter what zoom range you're at on this lens, that's internally zooming, so the actual lens itself never physically changes length, which is a big plus, especially if you want to bung this on a gimbal, which I might one day. Definitely not today. So I've got to say I'm pretty happy with this lens so far in this little test. From what I've seen on the screen, it looks all right. I mean, obviously you can't really tell on a tiny little LCD screen in bright sunlight, but I think it's going to be okay. And you guys have already seen how the pictures come out, and I think they're going to be fine. So yeah, I think that's been a good purchase. The power zoom part of it, probably the most underwhelming bit for me. I thought that was going to be more of an important thing, but unless you've got a zoom rocker, it's really irrelevant, because if you're holding this pointing away from you, your thumb's going to be right next to the zoom ring anyway. But it's certainly an advantage to have it as an internal zoom, as opposed to the Sigma's stupid reverse barrel extension bollocks. So now we're in a little wooded area. Nothing too special, but already I've noticed a couple of times in extreme shadows it's dropped down to f4 and it's started pumping the ISO up. So this is where this lens with its f4 aperture is going to start to struggle. But it's not doing too bad, you can certainly get away with this. And then as soon as you break out into the sun, we're back up to f22 and flashing ISO limit. See how it does as we walk back in. Yeah, it seems to transition pretty well. You can definitely get away with this. Well, that's enough messing around out here. I think we've got enough footage and what's that, stroke number 5? Jesus Christ. I think we've got enough test footage and pictures to see how we're going to do with this now. So I'm going to go back home, I'm going to look at the footage and sort all this out and then continue from inside. Alright then, so that was a fairly decent test, I think. Couple of notes, I've been checking some of the footage and I've checked the photos before I started putting them into the video, so I've got down a couple of notes to mention. The first thing, at the start of the footage there was that flicker, and I'd have put a bit of a note on there to apologise when it happened, I'm sure, when I edit this, but there was that flicker and I don't know what the hell that's about. I'm going to make an assumption that's got something to do with it being at f22 in the mega bright sun and the camera, what the hell's a camera? The camera going haywire and trying to compensate. So I'm going to assume that's what that like dull and like black flickering that was happening a bit at the start was. So I'm going to have to do a bit more of a test, fit an ND filter to this so that the f-stop goes down or up, I don't know, and see if it does that again, because that was bad and you're not going to want to use any footage really where I was doing that. So we're going to test that weird flicker in another video and see if that goes away, because I've never seen that in anything before. The other thing I noticed on a lot of the footage is that there's quite a lot of lens flaring. Now again, that is super, super bright outside and the sun is at that horrible low winter level where it's just screwing everything up. So I'm not sure if that's really the lenser's fault or if it's just because of the angle of the sun, the fact that it was a mega bright day, and probably any of these lenses would do it. But it could also be that I'd fitted this little UV filter to the lens. I put these filters on most of my, well, all of my lenses, just as a layer of protection again from me bashing them because I'm an idiot. So I was wondering if possibly this was causing some of the flaring, because this isn't the same one as what I use on my other lenses. This is one I happen to already have that was already the right thread for this lens. So I'm going to go outside again on a different day when it's mega bright and do some on and off tests with the UV filter to see if that's what was causing the flaring, just to clear that up, and also do some testing with an ND filter on it to see if that makes a difference, to see if it basically if this lens flares a bit in real bright sun more than the others, or if it was just because I've got a crappy cheap filter and I need to change this. And lastly, focus. There's a couple of blips there that were like, what the hell's it doing? I mean, you're looking at that bush and it's just completely out of focus, wasn't even attempting to focus at all. Like, what the hell's that about? I mean, the autofocus is on. Sony's basically got the best in industry focus as far as I'm concerned, from my really not very important opinion. So what was going on with the focus there? I have no words. Any ideas? Again, could that be because it was running at like F22? Could that have been screwing up the focusing ability a bit because it was just going haywire trying to compete with so much going on? I don't know. But any thoughts, please do let me know below. But aside from them little niggles, some of which might not be the lens's fault, half of it's probably just user error. I mean, you can't expect too much when you basically got the sun that bright at that angle. I suppose you're going to have a few things. But for the most part, I'm happy with this lens. That's cool in here. Well, I say this lens, I mean this lens, because we're on the Sigma and I'm useless. So I'm quite happy with this lens. It seems nice and sharp. The photos look nice. The footage looked decent. Just maybe a couple of little niggles, but we'll see. And I don't think even the ISO for using it in hair is too bad if I want to. I mean, a lot of the time for the talking head, like I say, I'm going to use the Sigma just because I think it's got such a nice image and it's just that right focal length. But definitely not unhappy with this. That's going to be perfect at the events for doing the walking and zooming, like I said. That'll pair brilliantly with these other lenses. The 15mm gives me that slightly more cooked in thing, and if I want to do anything inside a building, say a museum or something, this would be the lens I used for that. And then you've got the 11mm real mega basic one when you know you're just going to be out vlogging and you just want a lightweight little lens that doesn't cost a fortune. You can have this in the bag with your camera and not have to worry about it too much. So as a trio, I'm really happy with these. Didn't mean to buy them all, of course, but at least I got at least 2 of them second hand, so that saved a lot of money. So anyway, I'll stop waffling on now because it's probably gone on for way too long. Hope you enjoyed the video. If you're enjoying the content or have any questions or suggestions or answers to any of this random crap that's popped up, then please do shove me a comment down below. Give me a like and subscribe. That would help me out greatly to start this little channel off. So anyway, I'll stop waffling on now and I'll see you again soon.